Welcome to American Dreams. I'm with Dr. Naveen Singh. Dr. Singh, welcome to today's show.
Thank you, Alan. Thanks a lot. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, for the listeners here, you have a very unique background. Part of it dealing in the sports world, and you're also a successful entrepreneur. But can you give us your timeline, the history of things that you've done in life to bring you up to where you are today?
Thanks again, Ellen. So yeah, I started, like a normal kid, but I was a sportsman. I started very early in the age to do the sports, and God has been very kind. And I was in India also. I competed on international level, represented India, and then represented Switzerland because I moved to Switzerland for studies. And I was doing wrestling as my core sports, and I also did some competitions. I fought also in judo. Once you do freestyle wrestling, actually you have a base. You can do a lot of the combat sports. Now you can do MMA if you're a wrestler. But you can be successful in many sports. So having freestyle Olympic wrestling, that was my sports. What it is. Once a wrestler, you're always a wrestler. Then from that, I was studying when I was doing sports, and I did my doctorate in sports science. Basically at the psychological part of the sportsman and the sports injuries rehab part, which in the combat sports actually ends career of a lot of people. So that was a topic I was very interested in, and that it led to me to join or start another business which is into sports rehab part. But at the same time, I think the cosmos works in a very peculiar way, and you sometimes don't understand what happens. But in the end, the whole chaos which has been in your life makes a perfect sense. So I'm a true believer of that, and I started from the sports. I jumped into the tech, and I started with telecoms, and that's how the journey followed on.
The telecom industry. So, did you do you have a degree in telecom, or what led you into that field?
No, absolutely not. I'm not a techie at all. I'm a wrestler. If you, in many countries, the wrestlers are considered sorry to say, the dumbest sportsmen, which actually not the case. You've been a wrestler yourself. We are very smart guys. You have to anticipate the move of the opponent at the same time. You have to see what you're gonna do and counter moves and all that stuff. It just happened that I met amazing people, uh, amazing guys who were doing in tech like you are, and then you connect on a level, and then you said, "Ah, that sounds amazing." And that time in 2008, 9, I was very active sportsman, preparing for Olympics. But at the same time, it made me so um, kind of interested in that part of telecoms that I said, you know what? I need to jump into the telecom sector and understand what's happening into the sector. And that time, telecoms was booming, especially the mobile operations and mobile virtual network operations. So the learning curve of technology was pretty steep. But again, I was blessed because I was surrounded by amazing people, and I got into that pretty fast. And it has been it was a very successful venture for me, and that's how I met Mr. Simon Murray, who is now the chairman of my tech company. And in the telecom world, I think he is one of the most recognized and renowned guy. He was the guy. He was the founder of Orange Telecom, which was one of the biggest mobile companies in the world.
So, when you are looking at your current company, what specific problem does your company aim to solve?
So the current company is called Inery. We started it around 4.5 years ago. It started with the concept of that time that there was the whole hype about decentralization and the blockchain technology and all that stuff, not related to crypto, but the underlying technology. And me and my co-founder, we looked at that and said, how can you use this particular technology to solve issues which are there, especially in the field of data? So I was very interested into data because I knew that after telecoms, the next big thing is going to happen would be data. And if you see now with AI, it's all completely AI is based on data. Everything else, data is the new oil. It's the most important asset for every company, even every individual. all about data privacy, data security, cybersecurity is connected more or less in every stream to the data. So having data at one side and this technology on the other side, we're looking how do we solve issues which are there. And we found out that one of the biggest issues which we have in the IT industry is the database market. The DBM is the database management system. I'm sure you know the big companies like Oracle. They are one of the world's biggest companies doing the database, and there are many other companies of the database market. We found out that in the public domain, if you see different reports, there have been constant hacks and attacks on databases. And database is more or less a spinal cord of a company or an IT infrastructure. If your database gets hacked, then you are very vulnerable, and there are constant hacks. There's a report which says that more than 50% of databases gets hacked at some certain point of time. The problem lies in the architecture of the database when you dig deep, and it's not that it has not been addressed to. I'm sure those amazing minds in the world and those companies have looked into that. But if you see the problem and if you harness the benefits of the distributed ledger technology, and if you could have put them together, then you could solve that issue. So you could actually make it hack proof. So you can make it much more secure now what it is. But at the same time, you have to look on performance and you have to look on the cost matter and all that part. So this was a problem we started to work upon because we thought this is a very fundamental problem and someone at some point would solve it. And if you can solve it, you're sitting on one of a major revolution in the tech.
So, how do you envision the global expansion and impact of your technology moving from where you are today?
So I'm a firm believer of people. I think tech itself or innovation doesn't go far away if you don't have the right team behind it. And people make companies, people make countries, people make everything great. It's us who drive. So my main focus has always been on people. What kind of people join the company? What kind of investors would be in the company? If we are all aligned in our focus, if we are all aligned in our vision, that's the most important part. And if you see different kind of examples in the world, I mean, Tesla was there before Elon Musk joined it, but he took it on a completely different level because of his vision and because of the team he put together. Again, there was a tech, but people was the one who took it on different level. So that's the underlying factor for me. I'm a firm believer of that. Apart from that, the database market now, as we speak, is estimated around $100 billion revenue per year, which is a pretty big segment. And with the AI and everything, I think the projections could be somewhere around 100 to 500 billion in coming one first decade. Looking at that, we are the only company which is offering a fully in-house developed database management system, which is completely decentralized based on the distributed ledger technology. We are very cost effective. We are very performance competitive on the existing centralized databases, and we are much more secure on all the solutions which are out there. Keeping these three things together, I think we are looking at a very bright perspective of acquisition of at least 1% of the existing market in next coming few months. It could be 24 months to 36 months to be realistic.
When you're looking at the world and how quickly things are moving today, and we're hearing about, we're on the very early stage of quantum. How do you stay focused, or how do you move with the river of technology? And do you find it's a constant change? Once you get one problem solved, finding where markets are going. How do you make sure that you're staying in line with the movement of where technology is progressing to?
I think this is what we describe as innovation. So what I've learned in the tech world is that a technology is never complete. I mean, you cannot say, okay, now I have it, it's completed. It's never like it's an ongoing, constant process where you're constant developing something, then you're testing it, Then you're checking it if it can be implemented in the already solutions which are out there. And then it works and sometimes it doesn't work. Then you go in the next phase. Then you're looking where the market is going also, which side the world technology sector is taking to. What are the brightest brains in the world working upon? How do you complement that by to the existing technology you are building? So I think we are far away from having a complete solution. We have a complete working solution, but there are constant add-ons. There are constant things. For example, we are adding the key generation on the blockchain would be done by quantum computing. Then we are adding a full layer of artificial intelligence of the data management into our DBMS. And these things will just keep on going and going in different kind of ways and things. And I think there are a lot of brightest brains out there which guide us, and I'm sure that a lot of guidance comes from upstairs as well. I mean, not upstairs on our building, but I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about.
Understood.
Yes, the cosmos. And it's a non-stop ongoing process until we all can afford it. I mean, in terms of time and money and everything. And that's how amazing tech, or that's how the last 30 years have been, that we started from normal mobile phones, which nobody believed would take place because the mobile phone was size of a briefcase. And if somebody would call you and you pick up, you were paying. So it makes no sense that why would you pay if I'm calling you? So the commercial part at that time thought that this business is going to die. And then how mobile phone came, and then how it changed into smartphones, how all our life is on the phone. This is the beauty of ongoing development, which is happening around the world by those brightest minds.
I love it. And the way that you also outlined the necessity to stay connected with the right network of people there. Now, when you look at your handling your setbacks or failures, every entrepreneur will have these. Uh, what advice in the spirit of mentorship would you give to others facing their challenges in entrepreneurship?
So let me give you a small example. I have been asked this question by a gentleman a few years back, and he asked me, well, you work 16 hours a day and you train on them, but I've never seen you stressed. Um, how do you manage that? So I told him, like, I keep things simple, as a wrestling strategy. So there are things which I have some or total influence. What time do I get up? How many hours I can sleep? If I can train, if I can meditate, all that part. That part is more or less in my hands. I would say 99%. So you keep that part absolutely um, disciplined in your part. Then there is a part of life where you have somewhere not a complete in your control, but somewhat in between, where you have a little bit of influence or control on it, and the rest is in the hands of God, you can say. At that part, you give your 100% best, and you then leave it. And there is a third part of life that you have absolutely no control. So the part which I have no control, I don't stress about because I don't have a control on it. It's completely in hands of many factors which come together for the outcome of it. So I don't really get stressed or think about it. The part which is in between, where I have a partial influence or control upon, I do my best and I leave the rest on the hands of God. And that makes me absolutely stress free because I did my best. And the part which I have the majority of the influence on, I do my best there, anyways, in the disciplined way. So splitting it in those three sections and just checking the box makes me look, I have done my part and I can now sleep good. Rest is in the hands of cosmos. That's one part of not getting stressed. And the second part, as you said, being a sportsman, being a professional athlete, you have to, and every athlete has gone through this part, that at a certain point you're on the top of the world because you are the fittest, one of the fittest human being in the world. You are very strong, you're fast, you're very skilled. All these things you have together in the bucket, which is a result of last 20 years of hard work, for example. And suddenly you get a major injury, and you're lying in a hospital on a surgery table, and the surgery is done, and you actually takes like 1 year to start the year. When you actually start not zero, but you go minus. So at one point you were the most, powerful, I'd say more the fittest guy. And in 24 or 48 hours, you're lying in a hospital. You cannot even walk. It will take you weeks to walk. So you actually start from minus, and then through your willpower and hard work and grit, you again slowly. It will take maybe 18 months, 24 months. You come to the same level, which was better. So before it took you 20 years, but then again 2.5 years, you come to the same level. And in many of athletes' life, it happens multiple times. So there you learn that it's okay to be in the top and then on the bottom, and then you start again. This is a part of life, and you just don't quit. You just do your best.
When you're looking at life, and let's say you go all the way to the end and you want to look back, how do you want to be remembered?
Um, if
What
you,
legacy?
well, the legacy is how many people's life I have touched in a good way. I don't want to be touching anybody's life in a negative manner, and I would refrain myself to do anything in that. And that's the only thing. I mean, it's not only about my immediate family or my friends and family. It's just anybody, any person who you just meet on street, anybody who's checking at the airport, giving him or her a beautiful compliment, which makes her day, and that happened to me many times. And it's always how many people's life you can really touch. Most important part in that is I'm a firm believer of education. So if we can educate kids who have a lot of capabilities, but for any reason because of the poverty or not enough financial means or good schools, I think education can change the world. Then again, being a sportsman, I would love to give as much as facilities to the guys who have this spark and willpower, and they can go, push their boundaries to do some things, giving them an opportunity, touching their lives in a positive manner, and touching as many people as I could before my time ends here. I think is the way I want to be remembered.
Dr. Singh, I'm honored to have you as a guest on our show today and for all the wisdom that you shared.
Thank you very much, Ellen. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here.